It's a crowded room, tapos close lahat, mas delikado. At saka ang close contact kung magkadikit-dikit ang tao.
The shift in the facial policy is a welcome break for some Filipinos.
Abala ko talaga kasi mainit sa pakiramdam. At saka nga, yung parang ang hirap magganon-ganon. Lalo na ako, nagsasalaming ako. Minsan parang nagbablurred yung salaming ko.
Abala, katulad na magtatrabaho kami. Abala talaga. Sa face mask mo kailangan.
While this could impact their sales, some face shield vendors say they understand the president's decision. Face shields in these sidewalk stores in Mandaluyong are being sold from 15 to 200 pesos.
Sa iba kasi, sagabal lang face shield naman talaga eh. Yung sa totoo lang. Basta bakunado ka na, pwede na yun.
Experts are still divided over the effectiveness of wearing a face shield. Infectious diseases expert Dr. Ronjin Solante maintains face shields are vital in indoor spaces with poor ventilation and when physical distancing is difficult to observe. Another infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Benjamin Ko, points out while face shields may have helped at the beginning of the pandemic, proper masking remains the key, especially since COVID-19 is transmitted through droplets and is airborne. This is also supported by a wind engineer who conducted initial studies on face shields.
Doon actually mataas yung risk ng airborne transmissions na ikinawaworry nga natin na nag-attribute to super spreader events. Airborne nga yung transmission, ang hangin na yung contaminated. So to address yung contaminated na hangin, kailangan natin ng proper ventilation na hindi naman binibigay ng face shield.
The mandatory use of face shields has become one of the most controversial and talk about government policies as the COVID-19 pandemic rages on. The debate continues on whether or not this can effectively protect you from the virus. But for some Filipinos, the issue is not only about inconvenience, but also shelling out money out of their own pockets as they try to make ends meet. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
While face shields may no longer be needed outdoors, a vaccination card might soon be required to be worn like an ID if a person needs to leave home. Interior Undersecretary Martin Dino, in a briefing on Wednesday, appealed to the public not just to bring with them their vaccination cards, but to wear them on lanyards around their neck. This, he says, is to make it easier to check a person's vaccination status.
I-request ko sa Interagency Task Force para maiutos sa lahat ng mga barangay na ito na sana ang maging sakripisyo ng bawat Pilipinong nabakunahan. Kung ikaw ay bakunado na, paglabas mo ng bahay, isuot mo na yung vaccination card. Paano mo malalaman na bakunado kung hindi nakasabit ang vaccination card? At paglabas mo ng bahay, hindi ka na maabala ng pulis, ng barangay, natatanungin ka, asan ang vaccination card mo?
In the same briefing, Resto PH President Eric Teng recounted how some people who wanted to dine in at restaurants became upset when asked to show their vaccination cards. Dino said this situation could be avoided if his suggestion were to be followed. Metro Manila is under Alert Level 4. Under this classification, dine-in services, barber shops, hair spas, nail spas, beauty salons, and physical religious gatherings can operate indoors for up to 10% of capacity, but only for fully vaccinated people. Health officials are still deliberating their final recommendation on the vaccination of the younger population against COVID-19. In a statement, the health department said it supports providing additional protection for children. But while they cannot be inoculated just yet, the agency says those eligible should get the COVID-19 shot instead to achieve the cocoon effect. With this strategy, experts have explained the vaccination of adult household members also gives protection to children, since studies have shown minors acquire the virus from adults at home. The DOH also underscores the importance of prioritizing the vulnerable population, including senior citizens and those with existing illnesses. Latest government data shows over 23.28 million people have received their first dose of COVID-19 vaccine. 19.38 million of them are already fully vaccinated. In the United States, more Americans will roll up their sleeves for a third COVID-19 shot. That's after health officials approved a booster dose for the elderly and select adults. But for experts, there's another vaccine people of all ages should get, the flu shot. CNN's Britt Conway has more.
One dose, a second dose, and soon, for some, a third dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer's booster just got the FDA's emergency use authorization, and today, a CDC panel will decide whether to recommend it. Then the CDC director signs off. The booster is targeted at people 65 and up, those at risk of severe disease, and people at risk because of their jobs, like healthcare workers, teachers, and grocery workers. The CDC is expected to fine-tune recommendations on how boosters should be given and talk about where we go from here.
I suspect what's going to happen is we'll continue to collect data on this cohort, 65 and over, and other people who are made eligible. And eventually the agency may walk down the authorization to younger age cohorts.
But there are still millions who haven't gotten their first shot. In the U.S. right now, on average, more than 2,000 people are dying from COVID-19 every day. And we're closing in on another threat, flu season, which kills about 12,000 up to 50,000 Americans every year. The American College of Emergency Physicians says there are early signs that the coming flu season could be severe. And with so many hospitals struggling already, health experts are recommending flu vaccines just in case.
But it's better to be prepared. And I think this is the part where humility really is a very important part of our science approach.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
The Commission on Elections is not budging from its September 30 voter registration deadline. That's despite the appeal of 23 senators for a month-long extension. As our Melissa Lopez tells us, lawmakers are still trying to negotiate for more time.
The joint hearing of the House and Senate on Thursday on preparations for the 2022 polls saw lawmakers bargaining with the Commission on Elections for more time for voter registration.
Tawaran na ito ng bilas ang isda.
Tatawad na sana ako ng 10 days pero
Para ma-accommodate lahat, gawin na lang natin 2 weeks ang request natin sa COMELEC.
Both the House and the Senate have passed bills for a month-long extension of the September 30 deadline. But the COMELEC is standing firm.
What we have said, and that has already ruled twice, not to extend the registration. With more reason that we have to have an earlier deadline because of the preparations for pandemic.
Senator Frank Drilon earlier threatened to slash the poll body's budget to, quote, the barest minimum if the poll body refuses to move the deadline to October 31st, to no avail. Commissioner Marlon Casquejo then floated a compromise, a 1-week extension, but only after the filing of certificates of candidacy from October 1 to 8. The proposal is yet to be approved by the COMELEC and Bank. But senators are insistent.
Sa dinami-dami na nakapila, ang layo naman ng 1 week sa 1 month, hindi siya compromise. 2 weeks is much better naman than 1 week. Pagbigyan naman ninyo yung mga na-lockdown.
Voter registration is ongoing from Mondays to Saturdays, generating long lines of applicants starting at dawn. Meanwhile, the poll body is mounting a voting day simulation to finalize health protocols on May 9th. Apart from classrooms, public covered courts are also being eyed as poll precincts for better ventilation. Melissa Lopez, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte seals the deal. He signs the Certificate of Nomination and Acceptance, or CONA, as vice presidential candidate of the ruling party PDP Laban. The signing was held in Davao last night with Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi, president of a faction in PDP Laban that ousted Senator Manny Pacquiao. The Cusi wing is hoping Senator Bongo will change his mind and follow suit. Go rejected his nomination as presidential bet. The other faction is expected to issue their own CONA with Pacquiao as standard bearer. The COMELEC gave them until September 27th to comment on the petition filed by the Cusi wing to declare them as illegitimate members of PDP Laban. Senator Coco Pimentel, chairman of the Pacquiao faction, said they will respond to the petition. Coming up on Newsnight, President Duterte signs a measure to tighten rules on Philippine offshore gaming operators, or POGOs. And more details coming in on the death of painter Bree Hansen. We get a glimpse of what happened minutes before she was found lifeless. Stay tuned.
Muna na po ako.
Okay, ingat Apo.
Araw-araw, tayo ay hinahamon na mabuhay ng tapat at may integridad.
Sobrang sukli.
Dahil ang mapagkakatiwalaan sa maliit na bagay,
Miss, wallet niyo po.
ay mapagkakatiwalaan din sa malaking bagay. Pero ang mandaraya sa maliit na bagay ay mandaraya rin sa malaking bagay.
Nagsimula sa isang pangarap.
Ako na po, ma'am.
Ika'y tutulungang ibahin ang buhay na nakasanayan.
Naka 24 months ka na sa pag-ibig.
May panghulog na ako sa motor.
Uy, bagong motor!
Gagawa ng hakbang para mapaghandaan ng forever.
Ingat ka, ha?
At harapin ang bukas ng may maaasahan. Simulan mo na ang forever mo ngayon. Fund your forever with Pag-ibig Fund.
Register today!
When the world was changing for photographic film, we helped change the world as a pioneer of the digital age. In healthcare, we're revolutionizing diagnostics by applying our AI technology. But why stop there? When we can focus our AI and IoT expertise on business innovation, helping tackle some of the toughest challenges in the workplace. When it comes to innovating for a healthier world and a more sustainable society, we'll never stop. Fujifilm, value from innovation.
Amid the darkness, look on the bright side. As the battle against COVID-19 continues, the fight for proper nutrition grows as more and more families lack access to healthy food. Knorr is no stranger to these health challenges. For over 2 decades, the food brand has championed proper nutrition for every Filipino and continue to do so, especially during these troubling times.
Knorr has an important role to play in addressing the problem of malnutrition. Given our reach and our portfolio of nutritious and delicious products, we are in a position to make a real difference.
Apart from educating moms and partnering with different organizations, Knorr has also remained true to its passion for good food by continually improving on their products to provide essential nutrients that will benefit the families that use them. From its Knorr Sinigang sa Sampalok Mix Original that now contains vitamin C, to the popular Knorr Broth Cubes that are now also a source of iron. Knorr's continuing innovation for positive nutrition is part of the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. The company's mission is to provide a positive social impact in the markets where it operates. For more information, consumers can visit Knorr's website or follow Knorr Philippines on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Sam Tidwani, CNN Philippines.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. President Duterte's satisfaction score amid the pandemic is on a decline, at least based on the last 3 surveys of the Social Weather Stations, or SWS. In the November 2020 survey, the president received plus 79 net satisfaction rating, considered as excellent and his highest so far. It plunged to plus 65 in May and went down a bit further at plus 62 in the June 2021 poll. SWS says these numbers, however, are still classified as very good. The results of the 3 surveys were released in one go today. The independent polling group explains it did not release the results right after the conduct of the surveys because it had to carefully study the data due to changes in methodology. SWS fellow and political science professor George Tigno says the president's high satisfaction rate in the November 2020 survey may be attributed to the decline in the number of COVID-19 cases at the time. Another SWS fellow and economics professor Jeffrey Docane says based on data, most survey participants believe the Duterte administration is doing good in its pandemic response. SWS says it will release full details of the surveys in its website soon. President Duterte has signed into law a measure taxing Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGOs in a bid to enforce stricter rules on gaming. POGOs will have to pay a 5% tax on services rendered by gaming licensees and a 25% withholding tax on the gross income of foreign employees. The total revenue collected will be allocated to the Universal Healthcare Law implementation, enhancement of health facilities, and attainment of sustainable development goals. The government expects over 120 billion pesos in revenue over the next 4 years. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes calls on Vice President Leni Robredo to announce her plans for the 2022 elections. Robredo earlier bared plans to meet with Senator Manny Pacquiao and Mayor Isko Moreno for a unified opposition, but both have already declared their presidential bids. Trillanes, the chairman of the Magdalo Group, says they will back Robredo if she also guns for the post. But if not, he says they are prepared. Trillanes previously submitted his name for a possible presidential bet of opposition coalition Isang Bayan. Netizens are also calling on Robredo to succeed President Duterte, but her spokesperson earlier said she will make an announcement in due time. Acción Democrático welcomes at least 20 new local officials as it prepares to slug it out with other parties in the 2022 polls. Among the new members is Marinduque Vice Governor Romulo Bacoro Jr., who will take on incumbent Governor Presbitero Velasco, the father of House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Party President Isko Moreno says they are now looking for potential members from the Visayas and Mindanao. Action adds those who transferred today came from different parties, including the ruling PDP Laban and the Nacionalista Party.
Mukhang nakachachamba ang aksyon, puro giant killer dito. Manila, Pasig, puro giant killer. Alam mo, minsan, ako naniniwala ako, walang grabang nakakapuwing, puro buhangin lang.
Sila po, bago po namin tinanggap, we made sure that they knew and they know the principles that the parties are standing on and the core values.
Also among Action's prominent members is Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto. The party was founded in 1997 by the late Senator Raul Roco. It had its biggest political outing during Roco's failed presidential bid in 2004. Authorities are digging deeper into the death of visual artist Brie Hanson, whose body was found at a hostel in La Union. Here's what happened minutes before that. This is CCTV footage shows Hanson and her companion Julian Ongpin. The artist's legal team says the two had a heated altercation. Both went in and out of their room before locking themselves in. The lawyers stress initial medical legal report indicated there were signs of struggle, citing bruises on Hanson's neck and body. The Investigation Bureau says it concluded a second autopsy upon the request of Hanson's family. There were no immediate details on the results. The PNP says initial probe showed no signs of foul play, although they also confirmed she died of asphyxia or lack of oxygen. The agency insists it's not giving favors to Julian, the son of prominent businessman and former Trade Minister Roberto Ongpin. Julian is facing drug complaints for cocaine use. The police add cocaine was also detected in Honson's urine sample. We've got movie news coming up. A sneak peek at a new documentary about Britney Spears' struggle against her conservatorship. Plus, the Wizarding World will return to the big screen earlier than planned. Find out more about the next Fantastic Beasts film when Newsnight returns.
Living the Ranger life isn't about showing your power or durability. It's about having the ability to push forward with inner strength to carve your own path, even when the path is not clear. Ford Ranger Raptor. Live the Ranger life.
Friends, try nyo to. Vet-approved Nutri-Chunks in lamb flavor. With active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real lamb goodness. With essential nutrients to help keep them strong, healthy and happy. Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Bawat patak, may sarap, may lakas, sulit. Red Horse Beer.
Well, I have a long drive ahead, but before I hit the road, I gotta get this car loaded. Good morning, Kuya. Full tank diesel max, please. Whew. When it comes to fuel efficiency and getting the most out of a full tank, you can trust a diesel engine. Diesel fueled cars, well, they're perfect for those long drives. If you're the kind of person who likes to save money, like me, this is perfect for you. The appealing combination of economy and high performance make diesel engines more attractive to car enthusiasts. Diesel engines have a compression-ignited system, wherein the fuel is injected into the combustion chamber of the engine. More energy is being extracted from the diesel, thus providing higher mileage. Over time, deposits build up in the tips of fuel injectors, affecting the overall performance. So it's important to consider a fuel that helps keep injection systems clean, and that's where Petron Diesel Max comes in. It has multifunctional additives to maintain overall cleanliness of fuel injection systems. These additives extend the life of the engine. Petron Diesel Max also provides efficient combustion for maximum acceleration and power, and reliable burning quality. Treating engines with care and filling it with premium quality fuel will increase efficiency and prolong its life. Thank you, Kuya. All right, now that my car is filled up with Petron Diesel Max, I'm also pumped to make the most out of this long drive. Drive safely, everyone.
Welcome back. Today in entertainment news, we've got Britney Spears, Will Smith, and a Harry Potter prequel. CNN's David Daniels rounds it all up in our Hollywood Minute.
Britney never had one person she could trust. Not mom, not dad.
Britney had a fear that her family would barge in and take everything.
What was going on inside the conservatorship?
Here's your first look at Britney versus Spears, the latest documentary about the pop star's long battle to end her conservatorship. The film debuts next Tuesday on Netflix.
What do you have to say for yourself, Dumbledore?
We have a title and a new release date for the follow-up to Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. Warner Brothers says the third film in the Harry Potter prequel series, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, will open April 15th, 2022, 3 months earlier than previously announced.
She turned around to see what you beeping at. It's like the summer's a natural aphrodisiac.
Summertime, the Grammy-winning summer anthem from DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, is headed to the big screen. Deadline reports Will Smith is set to produce a hip-hop movie musical for Screen Gems based on the 30-year-old single. No word on the plot or whether the Fresh Prince himself or DJ Jazzy Jeff will appear on screen. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
A new herd of talking ponies are prancing their way to Netflix this week. CNN's Rick Damigella reined in on the ponies in this report.
Once upon a time, Earth ponies, Pegasite, and unicorns lived in harmony.
Why can't we be friends anymore?
Maybe one day, we'll figure it out.
What in Equestria is going on? The 3 pony races no longer live in harmony? It sounds like a magical quest for My Little Pony: A New Generation.
Hi, new friend!
Unicorn attack! Who are the voices behind some of the main characters?
We'll need glitter. Lots of glitter.
Izzy Moonbow, who I play, she's very open-hearted and just, very ready to accept anyone and lives without fear in a way that I think we all can be reminded of to live sometimes.
Gotcha! Your son is safe now, ma'am.
Hitch Trailblazer, he's the town sheriff in Maritime Bay, and he's a bit of a Boy Scout.
I feel in many ways Sprout is the heart and soul of, no, I'm kidding. Sprout is the anti-Hitch. Maybe whatever James just said, opposite of that.
Okay, well, this day just got a whole lot more interesting.
I absolutely adored and fell in love playing Zip Storm, who is this confident, beautifully drawn character. Shout out to our animators, who stands firmly in her power and reminds everybody else of the power and their truths that they should live.
Big talk for a little pony.
I think you'll find I'm average height.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
And before we go, over 7 million people around the world are celebrating their language today while encouraging you to learn it too. Now, in its 4th year, the International Day of Sign Languages was established to recognize the linguistic identity of people who are deaf. It was set on the same day the World Federation of the Deaf was formed back in 1951. With the theme, We Sign for Human Rights, the occasion aims to promote the use of sign language for both deaf and hearing people. We still have 93 days more before Christmas, and that's it for tonight. This is me signing thank you and goodbye. I'm Ruth Cabal for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
Tuloy-tuloy ang balita. Sabado at Linggo. Kaya narito
Having fears is a normal and healthy part of life. It's our body's natural response to perceived danger. But when fears cause extreme distress and interfere with our daily lives, it becomes a cause for concern. Today, we'll focus on phobias, that strong, unrealistic fear of an object, a person, an animal, an activity, or a situation that pose little or no actual danger in reality. They come in all shapes and sizes, and the list can be quite long, so we'll talk about the more common ones. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We're here to build a healthier future for you. People with phobias actively avoid certain objects or situations or endure it with extreme fear or anxiety. To help us with today's discussion, let's welcome our guests. With us is Dr. Jerome Go. He's a psychiatrist and a fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association. Also with us is Dr. Ramon Eduardo Villasor, who's a counseling psychologist from the Makati Medical Center as well. A phobia is a fear of one particular trigger that's divided into three main groups. Dr. Teddy, can you explain what these are?
For a specific phobia, this is for a specific object or situation. It can compromise everyday life. So whatever the phobia is, it causes a great deal of anxiety and stress, anxiety, and it gets triggered but when that event happens, that situation happens.
Complex phobias, on the other hand, have triggers that are less recognizable, such as leaving the house or being in a large crowd. Social anxiety and agoraphobia fall under this group. Dr. Go, could you tell us more about this and how does one develop it?
So social phobia, or otherwise classified as social anxiety disorder, as the name implies, is a condition where a person experiences marked fear or anxiety when he is in a social situation, fearing that he will be evaluated negatively. So they are afraid of being judged negatively by people for whatever reason. This is social anxiety disorder or social phobia. On the other hand, agoraphobia is marked stress or fear inducing panic symptoms when you are placed in a situation where a person cannot escape or is stuck in that situation.
Now, as society changes, the list of potential phobias also change. One example would be nomophobia, which is actually the fear of being without a cell phone or a computer. And as you can imagine, this has developed recently, and because people do get very attached to their gadgets and can't function without them. Dr. Go, what are some of the more commonly known phobias?
I think the more common phobias nowadays, especially given the pandemic, is really germophobia. Now, this falls under specific phobia wherein people, because of the pandemic, is really aversive or afraid of getting exposed to viruses, germs. That's why we are taking care of ourselves. The problem is the overestimation of fear that sometimes can affect how we live our lives.
Acrophobia, or the fear of heights. Now, this phobia makes people avoid higher floors of a building, maybe bridges, maybe mountains. Dr. Teddy, what happens when someone with this kind of phobia is exposed to these?
Even the idea that they are about to enter such a situation will really stress them out. So they will avoid it at any cost. They will try to work their way around it, just to avoid it.
Now, another common phobia is aerophobia, or the fear of flying. Now, in terms of fatalities, air travel is actually safer than any other common mode of transportation. But Dr. Go, what causes this type of phobia then?
The causes would be news, like when we hear about plane crashes, which is quite uncommon nowadays, but it can still have an impact on people, or air accidents. No, these are things that would make a person fear riding a plane, or even the actual experience of turbulence while inside a plane. So all of this could elicit a certain overestimation of fear that is already inappropriate and sometimes incapacitating because a person actively avoids that phobic stimuli.
Phobias of spiders can have a far more significant impact on your life. So having arachnophobia can prevent someone from participating in certain situations because their mind tells them that you're in danger from spiders. How can we tell if it's normal fear or just preservation, or if this is already an actual phobia?
In order for us to classify or diagnose that this is already a phobic reaction or a phobia that needs to be addressed, is that it is very persistent. Like it's almost always when a person sees the phobic stimuli, there elicits a response. And the response is normally considered inappropriate or exaggerated or extreme, to a sense that it creates a lot of fear, so as making a person unable to proceed with his activities.
Does the sight of blood make you feel faint or even squeamish? While some people feel uneasy about blood from time to time, hemophobia is an extreme fear of seeing blood. Dr. Teddy, how does having this impact someone's life?
They'll make up any excuse. They will create an environment that they feel safe. So that may be in their homes, and they will, if they go beyond that border, then they may feel the symptoms. Anxiety, the stress is there. It persists perpetually in almost all situations. And this would be good markers for definition if somebody is suffering from phobia.
Now, another phobia on that list is claustrophobia. It's an irrational and intense... Specific phobias are long-lasting and cause intense physical and psychological reactions. It's not like the brief anxiety you feel when taking a test or maybe giving a speech. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. What are some of the impacts of phobia on a person beyond the symptoms?
You have to remember that these people who experience phobia, they can recognize that they are avoiding the situation because of their fear, but they may actually like to perform in public. They just fear to be judged. Similarly, for agoraphobia, patients may become homebound in its most extreme state because of their fear of being exposed in situations where escape is difficult. So they just stay in their home, confined in their home, because they feel that it is their safe place, so to speak.
Dr. Teddy, how does this impact the person's life, especially in children?
One way that you can work towards conquering or managing your phobia would be to constantly expose yourself to situations that, for lack of a better word, make you feel uncomfortable. So they not being exposed to other kids may actually make it a little bit more difficult when they finally get to socialize with other people.
Can a true phobia, someone who's diagnosed with a phobia, affect their mental health overall?
This can actually develop into a full-blown anxiety disorder or a mood disorder. Many times, patients who have phobia can also have a comorbidity of substance use disorders. This is all because of the tendency of a person to try to appease his fears by taking some downers like alcohol or something to calm them, like substances.
A specific phobia can actually lead someone to have substance abuse problems. So can you explain this and why this is the case?
I'd like to cite a case where a patient would first came to me and said, I always fear exposing myself in public, but I cannot because that's part of my job. And this person would normally take a little dose of alcohol before he would have to speak in front. The problem was, as time went by, his alcohol consumption went on, and later on his function was compromised and his alcohol consumption just went up. So his intention was to really calm himself, but instead of just calming himself, he developed a different kind of addiction, which actually complicated the matter. So these kinds of comorbidity actually exist, and that's why we really need to pay attention as to what the underlying cause and the focused diagnosis that professionals must guide patients to resolve.
Yes, because the risk of suicide or self-harm also increases for some individuals with specific phobias. Why does this happen, Dr. Go?
This happens because the person is struggling to try to control a situation that he is having difficulty controlling. You know, this feeling of control is innate in every individual. And in so doing, he is having difficulty to control a certain situation, but it also makes it more complicated because there are a lot of undesirable reactions in his body that he is experiencing. A person may actually do something harmful as a consequence of this struggle.
Now, Dr. Teddy, is there a way or how is a phobia diagnosed?
Maybe a family member brings the patient for consultation because they may not be willing to do it themselves. So maybe that's a start. The family member shares their experience. If the patient is open to sharing.
If someone were to seek consult, say, for a possible, what they think they have is a phobia, what would the initial screening look like?
The process with a psychologist is usually 50 minutes. So during that time, there's a lot of
There is treatment for most phobias, and people who have them are nearly almost aware of their disorder. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Dr. Go, let's talk about the treatment or the therapy portion of someone who is properly diagnosed with a phobia. What happens?
Patients who come to us normally already have an idea that there is something wrong about their behavior, about how they are managing their fears. However, they struggle. Hence, they come to us. Now, when they come to us, the first thing is to identify what is the phobic stimuli and how they are behaving towards it. These are the cognitions that we need to be able to identify with our patients in order for them to appreciate that, okay, this is the one that's causing my fear, and what should be my approach, proper approach to it. So when a person can already correct that cognition, he can now start to expose himself slowly, gradually, like the sensitization therapies, slowly exposing himself through imagine, through actual exposure. That's number one. Number two is, of course, psychotherapy, wherein we talk to our patients about the proper behavior of coping with it. Like if they see there is something wrong about their behavior, then they would be willing to adjust to it. Of course, there are also treatment modalities like pharmacotherapy, wherein a person can take some medications in order for them to properly manage their fear or anxiety symptoms.
What is the risk behind this? What can you advise those who are experiencing this?
Well, these are some lifestyle phobias that patients can identify themselves. But what's most important is for us to get some guidance from professionals. No? I think that is the most important thing that patients can do for themselves.
Dr. Teddy, can you please give us some of the examples of simple changes that people with phobias can make in order for them to get started?
They must have a level of compromise that works for them, not a level of compromise that somebody dictated on them, but something that they can that they find they can live with.
What can family members do if they have a loved one who has a phobia?
Again, depending on the phobia, they can reassure them that they are fine. That's probably the family support. That's where they can help the most. And if the patient should fall back into their usual routine, they can help them course correct.
Is giving a pill to lower someone's anxiety the best way to manage phobias?
The best treatment outcomes will always be a combination of psychotherapy and pharmacotherapy. But it is not always the case in terms of initial treatment. Of course, the first thing that we need to do is to identify first the situation and if the patient is going to be amenable to taking medications.
Are there any self-help techniques that you could share with our viewers to hopefully help them start to manage their phobias?
The first thing I think with self-help is really correcting negative conditions, like acknowledging that the fear is overly estimated, that there might be some thing that you need to tone down a bit in terms of how you appreciate the fear for a particular object. Another thing is, of course, to try to desensitize yourself by exposure therapy slowly by just imagining that this object may not be as fearful or worrisome or anxiety-provoking. Deep breathing exercises will always be effective. And of course, seeking help whenever it is already necessary professionally will of course also be very important.
And with that, I hope our discussion was very helpful to all our viewers today. And thank you, psychiatrist Dr. Jerome Go and psychologist Dr. Ramon Eduardo Villasor. We want to be your partner for a lifetime of good health. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines.
Ako po si Dexter Sabilalak, kang Barangay Borabod, Libon Albay. Nagpapasalamat sa Ako Bicol Party List. Pulita natabangan akong magka-training sa saindang programa under TESDA in situ Heavy Equipment Operation. Salamat po Congressman Saldico and Congressman Pido Galbin. Diyos mabalus, Ako Bicol Party List.
Ako Bicol Party List. Katabang na, kasurug pa. Kung ikaw ay may problema sa kidney, tulad ng kidney stones o bato, impeksyon, nagpapadialysis, sakit sa pag-ihi, kidney failure, at iba pa, subukan ang Kidney Care.
Si Salvador, tagalo ako ng taxi driver. Napakahirap po talaga ng buhay ng taxi driver. Minsan naranasan kong pasera po, gusto kong umihin, hindi ako makahiya, gawa ng may sakay ako. At hindi ko tagal, naramdaman ko na lang na medyo sumasakit ang tagiliran ko. Ginawa ko, bumili ako ng Kidney Care. Ito po, katunayan, gumanda na ang aking pagkarandam. Tuloy-tuloy na po ang aking trabaho. Kaya maraming salamat po sa Kidney Care.
Ang Kidney Care ay mabibili sa Mercury Drug Store at mga suking butika.
Ang Kidney Care hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Ano ba ang maaaring maramdaman matapos magpabakuna kontra COVID-19? Maaaring makaranas ng sakit sa ulo, lagnat, pagkahilo, sakit sa katawan o parte ng katawan kung saan binakunahan. Ngunit, huwag mag-alala. Pinapaalala ng Department of Health, Bicol Center for Health Development na ito ay mga karaniwang reaksyon ng bakuna sa ating katawan. Isa lamang itong indikasyon na ang bakuna ay epektibo sa pagbibigay sa atin ng proteksyon laban sa COVID-19. Kung makakaramdam ng mga ito, mainam na mag-self-monitor o pumunta sa lugar kung saan kayo binakunahan upang mabigyan ng abiso kung ano ang mga dapat gawin. Suportahan ang Bida Vaccination, maging rest bakuna para protektado laban sa COVID-19.
Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
Ferdinand Magellan was seen as the main propagator of the Christian faith in the historic Easter Mass in the island of Limasawa. After the Holy Mass, he spearheaded the erection of the cross in the highest elevation of the island.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station. Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
Father Pedro de Valderrama, the chaplain of the Spanish fleet, celebrated the first Holy Mass in our islands. It was an Easter Sunday, in gratitude to the risen Lord for their safe journey.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station. Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
Ferdinand Magellan, upon arrival in Cebu, introduced the Christian faith to the inhabitants in Raha Humabon. He passionately prayed that peace be confirmed by God between them and the natives.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station. Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
Ferdinand Magellan was a staunch Catholic. Chronicler Antonio Pigafetta noted that Magellan came not only for the orders of King Charles I of Spain, but also for the propagation of the Christian faith.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station.
Patuloy na binabantayan ng Department of Health ang pagtaas ng kaso ng COVID-19 sa iba't ibang rehiyon ng bansa habang isinasagawa ng ating lokal na pamahalaan. Prevent, detect, isolate, quarantine, reintegrate strategies. Lalo pa nating paigtingin ang ating pag-iingat at pagsunod sa minimum public health standards upang malabanan ang pagtaas ng kaso at panatilihing ligtas ang ating mga pamilya. Pag-usayan ang ating pag-iingat upang kaligtasan natin ang angat. Sa bawat individual na nahahawaan ng isang virus, lumalaki rin ang pagkakataong mag-mutate ang virus na ito. Kaya upang mapigilan natin ang higit pang mutation at pagkakaroon ng variant ng COVID-19, kailangan din natin pigilin ang higit pang pagkalat nito. Paigtingin ang ating pagiging bida solusyon upang mapigilan ang tuluyang pagkalat ng anumang variant ng COVID-19 sa ating bansa. Lubos nating paigtingin ang pag-iingat para sa kapakanan nating lahat. Para sa lubos na seguridad ng ating bansa laban sa anumang variant ng COVID-19, COVID-19. Tayo ay nagpapatupad ng 10-day facility-based quarantine para sa lahat ng papasok sa ating bansa kasama na ang mga returning Filipinos. Sila rin ay kailangang itest gamit ang RT-PCR sa ikapito na araw. Kinakailangan rin na sila ay sumilalim sa home quarantine sa loob ng 4 na araw sa kani-kanilang LGUs. Importante ang hakbang na ito upang matiyak natin na ang muling pagkikita ng ating mga pamilya ay ligtas mula sa peligro ng COVID-19. Ang kaligayahan ng ating pamilya iligtas mula sa kontrabida. Kritikal ang kapasidad ng ating mga sistemang pangkalusugan para sa patuloy na kaligtasan ng ating bayan. Tungo dito, maiging binabantayan ang ating mga border at ports of entry at mahigpit na ipinatutupad ang ating testing and quarantine protocols upang maiwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19 variant sa bansa. Makiisa tayo sa pagtiyak ng kaligtasan ng ating border upang matiyak ang patuloy na serbisyong pangkalusugan para sa lahat ng nangangailangan. Protektahan ang ating komunidad para ating kalusugan mabigyan ng seguridad.
Let's be the solution plus sa COVID-19. B. Bawal walang mask at face shield. I. Isanitize ang kamay at iwasan ang kulob na lugar. D. Dumistansya ng 1 metro at limitahan ang pisikal na interaksyon sa iba. A. Alamin ang tamang impormasyon. Plus, suportahan ang FDA-approved na bakuna. BIDA Plus. Bida Solusyon Plus sa COVID-19.
Lolo, Lola, 1 taon na tayong nahiwalay dahil sa quarantine. Miss na po namin kayo at inyong masasarap na luto at pag-aalaga. May bakuna na raw po sa COVID-19. Kunin niyo po ha. Kapag nabakunahan na ang lahat, makakapiling na muli namin kayo. Ingat po.
Kung ikaw ay edad 60 pataas o may iba pang karamdaman, magparehistro na para sa Res Bakuna kontra COVID-19. Res Bakuna, kasangganang bida at ni lolo't lola.
Basta here, get ready for Magnolia Cheesy Milky White. Ready? Go! Magnolia Cheesy Milky White, Milky White, White, Cheesy Milky, ang creamy pa. Wow! Ang sarap! Yummy! High in calcium, helps make us strong. Go, go, go! Magnolia Cheesy Milky White, Milky White, White, Milky White, White, White.
Ang trusted dog food ni Catherine Bernardo, Nutri-Chunks na.
Listo at ganado ang baby ko sa vet-approved Nutri-Chunks with active boost and prebiotics na pampalisto. Made with real meat and essential nutrients that help keep them healthy and happy. Listo ganado sa Nutri-Chunks.
Ako po si Jennifer A. de la Peña, BSED English sa Liceo D. Masbate, taga-Barangay Malinta, Masbate City. Salamat po Congressman Elsalde Esco kag Congressman Alfredo A. Garbin Jr. sa bulig paagi sa educational assistance sa pariho ko na igwasing pangarap kag ambisyon sa buhay na makaeskwela. Maging isad na teacher para makabulig sa komunidad kag sa akon pamilya. Salamat, ako Bicol Party List.
Ako Bicol Party List. Katabang na, kasurug pa.
Iniimbitaran ang gabos na miyembros konsumidores kan Kaso Reco 3 sa gigibu na Virtual Annual General Membership Assembly o AGMA 2021. Ngunyan na maabot na Oktubre 9, 2021, alauna nin hapon via Facebook live streaming. Magpa-register online gamit ang link na available sa official Facebook page o sa website kan Kaso Reco 3 o kaya man sa mga area office service center kan Kaso Reco 3 para magkaigwaning chance na manggana nin brand new tricycle sa grand prize, 30,000 pesos sa second prize and 20,000 pesos sa third prize. Asin, kadakol pa ang ibang papremyo. Magbayad lang on time kan sa indong August 2021 bill. Para sa iba pang impormasyon, i-follow ang official FB page kan Kaso Reco o magapot sa pinakaraning opisina kan Kaso Reco 3. Musna! Mag-agma kita! This ad is officially brought to you by the management of Kaso Reco 3.
CNN Philippines are sa RPN-DZKI DZKI-IRIGA, alas 6 hasta las 7 ng manggi, Lunes hanggang Biyernes. CNN Philippines R.
Salamat, hindi malilimutan ating pinagdaanan, ating pinagsamahan sa hirap at ginhawa, sa lungkot at saya. Salamat, salamat, salamat sa RPN. Noong simula pa lamang, kayo ang naging magulang. Sa aking bawat hakbang, turo nyo'y tamang daan. Sa aking mga pagsubok, kayo'y laging tumutok. Kayo na ang laging kapay, hanggang sa magtagumpay. Salamat, salamat, hindi malilimutan. Gintong alaala ng ating pagsasama, sa hirap at ginhawa, sa lungkot at saya. Salamat, salamat, salamat sa RPN. Ako'y makilala, sikat sa buong madla. Sanggipang karangalan, sa lahat bahagi ka. Ngayon ka nakita, hinubog ng lumipas. At bawat ngayon at bukas, nakabukit hanggang wakas. Salamat, salamat, salamat sa pagkakataon na makapiling, makabalikan, maging bahagi ng mundo. Salamat, salamat, taus-pusong pasasalamat. Salamat, salamat, salamat sa RPN. Salamat, hindi malilimutan ating pinagdaanan, ating pinagsamahan, sa hirap at ginhawa, sa lungkot at saya. Salamat, salamat, salamat sa RPN.
Ang pinakaenot sa ringkunada. Puon kay do sa gudngunyan. Minaanduyog sa baga na mamanuan. Katuwang para sa kauswagan. Sa mga bareta, patas. Sa impormasyon, public service, enot ka. Malalaoman, katotohanan ang sinasarigan. Inina ang bagong Radyo Ronda. DZKI-IRIGA Radyo Ronda. An maugmang kairiba. Madya na.
RPN Provincial Stations, DZBS Baguio, DYKB Bacolod, DXXX Zamboanga, DXKO Cagayan de Oro, DXDX General Santos, DYKC Cebu, DZKI-IRIGA, DXKD Dipolo, DXKS Surigao, DXKP Pagadian, DXKT Davao, at DZRL Bata. RPN Provincial Stations.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda, DZKI-IRIGA, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Heavenly Father, we have now reached the day's end. Let us rest from today's work that we may awaken to a new day, refreshed and renewed. We thank you for your unfailing help and protection this day. Forgive us for our failings, for our selflessness towards one another, and open our hearts to forgiveness and reconciliation. Ease the burden of the troubled. Bring joy to those who are in sorrow. We pray for the safety of the travelers. Grant wisdom, empathy, and compassion for those guarding the well-being of our nation and those with responsibilities. Continue to shower your blessings in our families and preserve the unity of our society, now and the days to come. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You have been listening to DZKI-IRIGA Radyo Ronda, a commercial radio broadcasting station owned and operated by Radio Philippines Network Incorporated as authorized by the National Telecommunications Commission with license number BSD-0029-2021, effective on January 1, 2021, valid until December 31, 2023. DZKI-IRIGA Radyo Ronda operates daily on 1332 kHz with a power of 1,000 watts. This station is under the supervision of RPN Engineering headed by Engineer Joar C. Malnegro, ECE number 11753. Its operation and maintenance are carried out by the following electronics and communications engineer and first-class radio telephone operators duly licensed by the Professional Regulation Commission and National Telecommunications Commission. Abi Lindon C. Toralio, ECE number 36558, Jameson T. Oco, 94-1PV 3794, Charlie P. Buenaobra, 93-1PV-7860, Felix G. Lagrimas, 93-1PNCR-4224, and Joaner L. De Villa, 031PV-25873. RPN-DZKI-IRIGA Radyo Ronda is now signing off.